School of Rock. Santa Ana.
What up, Chris?
What's up, Adam?
My name is Adam Mori. I do music under the name B Bravo here in Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
Not going to tell you exactly where, but somewhere in LA.
Yeah, man. LA's the cool spot.
Yeah. I'm a producer and performer, DJ, synth aficionado or collector. Or,
Guru.
I don't even say all that. Synth enthusiast.
There you go. Yeah, man.
I like making beats. I make hip hop and funk and R&B and dance music and stuff like that. Work with different artists and also do some solo stuff as well, and have a few different band projects that I work with. One's called Cool Customer, another's called Starship Connection. There's one called Umi, and then also my solo stuff. So
sweet.
A little bit of everything, man. A lot of different music stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. If you haven't had a chance to check out B Bravo, if you don't know who this guy is, you should probably just stop the video right now and go check out some of his stuff. Make sure you're looking at it, man, because you're going to be inspired to write some of your own awesome synth lines and tunes. Man, I love your stuff. The newest one, that was solo that you just released, right? The record that I saw you just released?
Yeah, that's called Cosmic Mind, the Cosmic Mind EP. That's a solo thing.
Nice, man. When did you release that one?
That was in just June of this year.
Oh, okay. And that's all you did, all the production on that one as well, and all the recording and stuff? And
yeah, I did all the production, all the beats, all the music, some vocals too, some talk box vocals, and some just regular vocals.
Yeah, nice.
Pretty much everything.
That talk box is so cool, man. We'll get to that in a little bit, man. How did you find that sound, you know?
I mean, it's a sound we grew up listening to. Oh, I mean, I remember the first time I heard it was California Love.
Sure.
Back in '96.
Yeah.
I was in 8th grade at that time.
Yeah.
And I mean, when that song came out, it was the biggest song ever for us as kids, man. You know, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was just like huge. It was larger than life.
Yeah.
And, so that instantly was like, what is that sound that's singing like that? You know? And then I found out it was Roger Troutman. And then I didn't really dig a lot deeper until kind of much later, like high school and even after high school, when I started really getting more into like funk music and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
That I really kind of found out who Roger was, and Zap, and the like full breadth of what he was doing. And all obviously in the 80s and stuff like that.
So cool. Very ahead of its time, man. I mean, like the sounds now. Yeah, like that sound is iconic and on so many records and all over the place, man. And that was, you think it's like, man, yeah, mid 90s, or I would say like early 2000s. Probably kids are like, man, 2000, you know, but man, that's you're talking about 60s and late 60s, early 70s, that stuff was going on.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. So really through that, that was the first time I kind of heard it. And then I didn't really start getting into it myself, actually trying it, until much later, after I was doing making doing production and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think in 2010 was the first time I actually got to try a talk box.
Okay, what was the first one? Do you remember where that was? Like what you were jamming on?
My buddy Tico's house. I was with Salva and with Tico, and our boy Mike Boo came over, and he had a talk box with him. He had a Banshee talk box.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, "Yo, check this out." And we were like, "Oh, we all knew
awesome.
What it was. But
yeah,
we never
sure.
tried it.
Yeah.
And so we plugged it in and hooked up a keyboard to it, and we were terrible. We couldn't do it. It was hard.
Sure, yeah.
And it was just like, we were like, I was like, this is impossible. I'm like, how
do you do this?
How can you possibly make a song with this?
Yeah.
You have to let me just.
Yeah.
For people that are watching that don't know,
we'll throw some more out there. Yeah.
What we're talking about.
Yeah, man.
The talk box is.
What does it look like? Can you pick it up and show like?
The one I'm using right now, the one I have plugged in, is it's a Banshee talk box.
Okay.
So basically, just inside here is a speaker. It's driver, and a little amp, and these are just like the level knobs.
Okay.
And then it's connected to this tube here, this vinyl tube.
Yeah.
And so the sound you can hook up. Roger and people that want that sound use a synth.
Okay.
Hooked in. So the sound of your synth comes in through this cable into the box, and then that box, the speaker sends the sound through the tube.
I got you. There's a little speaker inside that box there.
Speaker inside the box.
Yeah.
And the sound comes out through the tube.
Okay.
So when you push, it's coming through the tube.
Yeah.
And then when you put the tube in your mouth,
you form the like vowel sound. And that's the same thing that they use on like what's his name? John Bon Jovi for that opening, right? Of like It's My Life or where wow 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 wow.
Yeah, yeah. So you can use it for a guitar too.
Yeah.
Like I think originally it was a guitar pedal.
Yeah, yeah.
So you could make the filters shapes with your mouth.
Yeah.
And
like
so you had like a cool control, and you could actually form words with it.
Yeah.
But it's a little, for me, it's a little harder. I mean, I'm no guitar player whatsoever, but you don't get the same sustain with a guitar.
Sure.
So
right.
It's hard to like get a clear word.
Yeah, so yeah.
With the synth, it's such a steady.
The waves.
Oh, way. Yeah. Right. It's used like a sawtooth wave.
Okay.
It's very similar to the what your voice makes.
Oh, interesting.
So it's really just a simple wave. So it comes to a lot.
Yeah.
Check. Check, check. Yeah. Doc box check, baby, baby, baby.
Yeah. So it's playing the sound. You're playing the sound on the synthesizer. Goes into the box. The box just plays that sound, whatever it is, out of its little tiny speaker in there. That goes up through the tube, and then the microphone's picking up the formants, like the vowels and the sounds you're making with your mouth, and projecting that sound back. Basically, your mouth is sort of an echo chamber at that point.
Exactly. Yep.
Excellent.
So you're not actually using your voice at all. Your voice is being replaced by the sound of the synth or whatever instrument.
So you're not speaking or anything like that.
Whatsoever. So if I say School of Rock,
yeah,
what I'm actually saying with my mouth is
all
I'm saying. But if I add the sound of the synth to it, it's
School of Rock. School of Rock.
Yeah. That's so awesome, man. That is really cool.
It's man and machine to get.
Yeah, that's a really solid sound.
It was so hard for us at that time because you have to play.
We got to play, right?
Sing, and you have to make the word with your mouth,
right?
And it has to be synced up perfectly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I spent hours and hours doing like
A B C D E F G,
just to get the
motion of it.
Pronunciation,
feeling of it, yeah. First,
you got to get it to where you can hear what you're saying,
or
else it's just kind of gibberish.
Yeah,
and then you have to get to a point where you can actually put emotion,
fluid with it. So yeah, sure.
I'm still working at it.
Sure. So what is it? So then, how much music theory then is sort of involved in that? I mean, you spent time with like scales and working scales and that kind of stuff, or did you base it more on? How did you approach the playing part of it, the keyboard part of it?
I mean, I'm basically self-taught on keyboard.
Okay.
I learned music in school.
Yeah.
Starting in elementary school, playing saxophone.
Right.
And so I was really into that kind of through school, and I played in like the jazz band in high school.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So I learned my music theory that way.
I gotcha. And then just applied it to the keyboard then. You had already had a significant amount of music theory.
Yeah, just in
gotcha.
As far as like your basic music theory and all that.
Yeah.
But I kind of just slowly started teaching myself piano.
Okay.
And I'm still no piano player whatsoever. But I can do enough to record what I need to and play some lines and get what I need to get where I need to go, basically.
Well, what else do you need in music, really? I mean, like if you can get
still working on it as we all are. I'm
sure. It's a journey for everybody. It doesn't matter. You've been playing a year or 100 years, man. There's the instrument always wins, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I remember we met in high school. Actually, we've known each other for quite a while. And when I first met you, you were in the jazz band and playing saxophone with Mr. what was the band teacher's name, man? He was
Robbie Stang. Mr.
Robbie Stang, Mr. Stang. That's right.
Stang.
Yeah. Have you heard from him at all, man?
I haven't.
He moved down to South America, right?
Our year of high school, he got this crazy opportunity down in Brazil.
Oh, right. Brazil, yeah.
Sao Paulo. And so he left. He went down to Brazil to like run a music academy down there.
Yeah. And
so I hadn't personally really heard from him since then. That was 20 years ago.
Sure, yeah. Been a while.
But I hope he's doing well. He may still be down. I got to look him up.
Yeah, I don't know. He's an amazing musician, man. Like, and a great teacher.
Man, for sure.
Yeah, Monterey High was always going to the, I mean, of course, it's in our hometown, but we always going to the jazz festival and the blues festival there. We always had, you know, bands actually that toured. You had opportunity to tour back then even, right? You guys took a trip to Japan, right? Was that right?
There was a group that went to Japan. That was with the Monterey Jazz Festival All-Star Band, but I was in the honor band, I guess it was called then.
Okay.
And we did a couple of trips to Europe. We did a couple of Europe tours.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man. What a great experience to get to play music, man, in your high school and get to travel as I'm watching them pull music out of schools and I'm watching them, you know, just kind of take funding away from the arts and that kind of stuff. What an awesome opportunity to have had that, man.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, we knew we had a great opportunity at the time.
Yeah.
And none of us really took it for granted. But looking back, I'm like, kids now don't like.
Yeah.
There's nothing even close to that.
No.
You know, if so many schools don't even have music programs.
No.
And
it's kind of sad, man. Yeah, it's a little bit sad.
Yeah.
But then you get good opportunities with places like School of Rock, and there are other, you know, music academies that are coming up and trying to fill that role, you know, for the classical people. You know, School of Rock is mostly rock focused, obviously, but we've got, you know, classical conservatories coming open for piano lessons, violin, strings, that kind of stuff. And then we do guitar, drums, bass, keyboards, synthesizer stuff, and vocals, you know, so for the traditional rock stuff. So it is out there, it's available, but now it's not really through the school anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's great that there's you guys are offering that for them to have access to it.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
Yeah, it's good for the community. It's good for all of us. Music is such a fundamental part of who we are, I feel like, as human beings, you know? It's just a part of our souls, you know? Since we've been banging rocks together as cavemen and whistling on flutes and stuff, man, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's what I think connected us back in high school.
Absolutely.
Is music. We weren't in like the band class together, but we had another class or something.
Yeah.
Together,
we had like math or something or English. I don't know, something.
And we were super into like heavy rock and like Korn and Metallica.
Yes.
At the time. And
absolutely.
That's how you and I connected.
Fully.
It was totally through music.
100%, man. Yeah. And I still remember being like listening to all our favorite bands, man, and trying to like imitate those guys, you know, and Korn and Limp Bizkit and Metallica and all those guys, man. We had that show that one time. And did you watch? Did I send you that video, right? I found the VHS copy of that video that I think we were in Salinas at that outdoor amphitheater. And I think your pops actually had the video recorder. I think he videotaped it or lent us the video recorder. I don't even remember who recorded it or how I got a hold of that tape. But I have it, man. I have it on digital. Have you seen it? Did I send that to you?
I don't know if you did, man.
Oh, dude, I got to send you that, man. I got to send you that.
Please.
It's that show. Yeah.
Because that was my first band is with you.
Yeah, the youth group band, man. That was a youth group band. And we're trying to play this like heavy metals, this like hard rock stuff. And Carlos was, man, I feel so bad for him now looking back, you know. We're trying to, you know, praise Jesus. And then you and me and John Appleton, and we're like, hey, we wrote this super heavy like song. Oh, man. Yeah. That was pretty good times. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we were doing, just having fun. And
yeah.
It was fun, and that's what music should be.
That is exactly what it should be, man. And you were always a really creative guy too. I remember, and I've often thought about, and what I'm going to ask you for, if you still have, is that video, that claymation stop motion that you made for your project, man. You remember that one?
I do, yeah. I mean, there was a bunch that we did.
Yeah.
But
you know which one I'm talking about? The pollution one.
Yeah. Man, It's probably on a VHS tape at my
Somewhere.
parents' house somewhere or something.
Yeah, I fully have a copy of that.
Like modernized.
I also have it on VHS, but I have no idea where it went, man. I never could find it again. That's the thing with all those tapes, man. You know, you got to keep track of that stuff.
I know. Yeah.
Dude, that was classic. Like I talk about that piece of work often, man. Like you have to dig that up, man. It's the most awesome thing ever, dude.
Well, that was back then. There was MTV had a
Celebrity Death Match, right?
Celebrity Death Match,
Yeah.
that's what it's called. And so we were just we were like, this is awesome. How do we do this?
Yeah.
And we kind of like figured out how to do it.
Where did you learn? I mean, YouTube wasn't really around.
It was really just me doing it. I mean, there was a few projects that I kind of worked with other people, but for the most part, it was just me doing it. And I don't even know how I came across some. It must have been something on TV where they were like showing how they did Wallace and Gromit or something.
Oh,
like that,
okay.
using the wire frames.
Okay.
For the figures.
Yeah.
And I just took that little bit of an idea and ran with it. And then I just had my old school camcorder, and I would just click on and off like quick just to take a super short video, and just you make your little character with the wire and the clay around it, so it's like it can move and it'll stay in the position.
Yeah.
And to make the mouse talk, you just have different
Shapes.
expressions. You have like an open or close, and you just take a video, open, stop, change it to like close, take another video, and when you play it back, all those little movements, and you speed it up, it looks like he's like talking and moving. It's just animation. It's like old school animation.
Dude, that video blew my mind. When you submitted that like for your project, when you brought that over one day, man, like that blew my mind. I had never seen, and I had seen, obviously we'd seen movies like that, but I'd never seen anybody make one like that, like create one like that. Pure genius, man. That was awesome. Now you got to find it, man. We got to see it.
I know, man. I know. So basically it's like, it starts with in sync dancing. The guy like comes and rips up out of the stage and just like starts
going to town, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Destroying in sync, basically.
It's definitely
it's kind of all about that in high school. It was like all these boy bands and stuff.
Yeah.
Crap.
Statement video. Yeah, man. That was just so classic, man. That was captured the sentiment of whatever that was, 98, 97, 98, 99, whatever year that happened to be. Yeah.
Somewhere in 99. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Dude, so good. And then since then, so then you graduated from high school. We were friends in high school. You made all this awesome, cool stuff. And then you were playing in bands, right? Like after that, or what were you doing directly after that?
Yeah, I mean, I went up to San Francisco to go to San Francisco State to study film.
Okay.
Like animation and filmmaking and all that. And I started off as a cinema major, and I was living in the dorms my very first year there. And my roommate played bass. The guy across the hall played guitar. The guy 2 doors down next to me played drums. And so I was just surrounded by all these music guys. And we were hanging out and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, I played music too. I played the saxophone.
Yeah.
You're like, what? Where is it? I'm like, I don't even have it here. It's like still at back home. And they're like, well, bring it up. Let's jam. Let's have some fun. So I was like, all right, cool. So the next time I went home for vacation or whatever, I brought it back up, and we started just like jamming in the dorm rooms. Literally, we'd set up all our gear in a tiny 10 by 8 or whatever,
maybe that big room,
yeah. And we would just rock out, and like people really liked it because we were playing like Chili Peppers covers and like like funk rock, and we had this girl started singing with us, so we had like a full thing, bass drum, guitar, vocals, and sax. I'd like do sax and play like percussion and stuff. And,
what did you guys call yourself?
Band back then.
Yeah, did you have
Groove Box?
Groove Box.
Called the Elements, and then it was called Groove Box. And we would just like we would rock like college parties and house parties and stuff like in the backyards. But it was like people loved it, and we used to rock. Like we would get the party cracking, and people would be dancing, and like people loved it, and it was fun, you know.
Yeah.
And through that, I met another guy named Hyro and Roja, who I still worked with to this day.
Okay.
He's actually a partner of mine in the group Cool Customer.
Oh, nice.
And he had his own band at the time, this salsa band. And he would like come in, and there was one house party we were doing, and he came in. Like I had known him just from like hanging out from like through other friends. And he would always talk about, oh, we just played at this club in the city. It was like so much like, so, you know, and they were cool. Like super into it, and they were really good, like straight like salsa.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he came through to this party and jumped in and was like jamming with us, like rapping and singing and stuff. He's an amazing guy. He can do everything. And it just kind of clicked. Like I was playing and he was playing, and we were just like, yo, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And he invited me to come jam with his group that time, because they were branching out to start like a kind of a more hip hop group. And so I came down with them. At that time, they were called Natoma, because they used to practice down in San Francisco in this little alley called Natoma at the studios. Okay. Anyway, I came and sat in with them, and that was it. Like,
yeah, just clicked.
Pretty much at the same time, my other band kind of dissipated.
Sure.
And I just kind of jumped in with those guys, and we started what is now Bionics.
Oh, okay.
We played together in the city, in San Francisco and like Oakland for, I don't know, 15 years at least, something like that.
Awesome.
I mean, they're still together. I don't really play with them because I moved to LA about 5 years ago. So I'm just, by geography, I can't really do it. But whenever I'm there, I jam with them, and they still play. They still release music. Now I'm involved in kind of a different way. I do a lot of like the mixing and mastering for them. Like on the engineering side.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I was doing that for a long time, for close to 15 years.
Wow. With Bionics?
With Bionics, yeah.
That's cool, man. That was one of the first times that I had, since we, I didn't see you much right after high school. And then when you started playing with Bionics, man, they got really popular, man. They were getting around, seeing them pretty much all over the place, man. You guys were playing a lot.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely all over the Bay Area.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a couple like tours, like to Miami and back, and Southwest, and like up in California. No, kind of, I don't know, all over the US, really.
Yeah,
like
nice,
once you start
putting
all the shows together,
then you start going all over the place. Yeah, man, absolutely. Kind of cascades.
Yeah. So that was like more of the, that was like a 10-man horn section, rappers, singers, percussion. We
whole show,
hip hop, funk, reggae, like everything. And it was just a party,
Is that still what they're doing now? They're a pretty big band
now. Yeah. I mean, they've slimmed down a bit as far as core guys.
Yeah.
But they still rip it, and they still do like a lot of
big shows,
hip hop,
reggae. Do they still have horn sections?
They do not. It's not as like consistent as the main guys, but for certain gigs they'll bring in like horns and
man,
stuff.
some of that ska stuff, and that's, I mean, you really need, man, you need it. Yeah. Dude, absolutely.
The keyboard horns just don't quite.
It's all right in a pinch, man, but yeah, it's not really the same.
Yeah.
But,
and then so around that, I mean, to backtrack a bit, when I was just at the very kind of toward the end of high school, I started getting into making beats, and I started getting into like Fruity Loops.
Oh yeah.
And my boy Joe had this like, I don't know, Casio or something like keyboard that you could program beats and record like loops and stuff.
Yeah.
And we really started kind of getting into that kind of my senior year of high school. And that kind of opened up that whole world of electronic music. And we started really getting into like, The Matrix had just come out, and that whole soundtrack opened up the like breakbeat and like that whole side of things. And I started kind of going to raves and stuff too, like junior, senior high school. So that kind of exposed me to like
EDM-ish, drum and bass,
house music and trance and all that stuff at that time. So I started kind of my musical just taste started to kind of open up, and I started like exploring more stuff. Anyway, once I got to college, I really started kind of getting into Fruity Loops.
That's the jump off, man. That's what everybody starts,
because it was just so intuitive.
Yes.
And like
little steps every little 4
really
beats.
good.
Yeah. The tracks were good, man. The samples that they had were pretty good. It was pretty inexpensive.
Like all the 808 kits.
Yeah.
They sounded really good, and they still do. It's still like a legit platform.
They're on like 11 or 12 or Fruity Loops Infinity or something. I don't even. It's something huge. I started on 3, I think, and they're like way beyond
what I started on. Yeah. On like a old PC tower.
Like, with the CRT monitor. Yeah. Solid.
Yeah, I kind of got into like making beats. Mostly, I was making hip hop beats.
Okay.
And that kind of sparked my interest into doing that. So all the while I was doing the live band thing and playing saxophone and playing with Bionics, I was also starting to, buy a bits of gear at a time. Like every year I'd get buy a keyboard, or I got my first sampler, and then so I was kind of doing those at the same time. And then my I decided at school, I was like, you know what, this cinema thing, I got to just focus on music. Like it's calling me. So I changed my major to audio production.
Oh, wow.
Started with John Barsotti.
Okay.
And we were studying like 2-inch
reel to reel. Wow.
2-inch reel, stuff like that.
Did they have those? They had those up in
old school way of recording, because they had a good program at SF State.
Okay.
Yeah.
They had those machines too. They had the 2-inch. I mean, were you cutting and pasting tape? I mean, were you really doing that?
We didn't do so much cutting and pasting with the 2-inch because they only had limited amounts of it. And it's expensive, and we didn't really do so much of that. But we were using the old, like the classic analog 24-track boards.
Nice.
And using like the compressors, and he had the full
outboard rack,
outboard gear rack, the compressors and the limiters and the reverb. Like everything was old school. There was no computer. The only thing we used a computer for was to record the mix.
Sure.
Like the 2-track at the very, very end. That was the only thing. There was no. So it was great because I learned all the old school ways of recording and mic placements and mixing and all that, the old school way.
Yeah, and all that stuff still matters. I mean, that's all of those foundations. I mean, it's like your theory and your harmony for learning an instrument, right? Like all that foundational stuff. You can't really build great tracks without knowing how that stuff functions, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, all the digital DAWs now are modeled after that. So
right.
They're all just trying to recreate that, basically.
Right.
So if you understand the signal flow and how all that stuff works, you're already, you kind of understand the back story of all of it. So
yeah, you got that foundation.
I'm thankful for all that, and I actually do use the stuff I learned in my studies every day, literally every day, because I do a lot of mixing and engineering and mastering for people now.
Yeah, doing a lot of production and stuff now.
Production stuff too. I mean, nowadays a big part of production is your mixing and your sound design and stuff like that.
Okay. How has that changed, do you think, over the year? What nowadays versus sort of when you started?
I mean, I suppose it's, as far as when I started, it's always mattered, because if you look at electronic music, if you look at hip hop, if your drums don't sound right, if they're not smacking the right way, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound right. Nobody's gonna be like, oh, that's a hot beat. If the drums are loose and
not hitting,
not using samples, if they're not hitting,
it
doesn't sound
beefy and strong. Like you got to have that hot beat. Yeah.
Like overall, if things sound too dry, or they're not, if your levels are off, it's not going to sound right to whoever's listening to it.
Right.
So as far as if you're doing the production and you're making the beats and putting it on a CD to give to someone to listen to, it's got to sound good.
Right.
If you don't have the luxury of having someone to just mix and do all that for you,
right,
you got to kind of figure out how to do it yourself. So that's how I kind of got into all that, is
having
anybody
doing it for yourself,
not knowing anybody and not having the money
to pay somebody to do it. Yeah,
wanted to mix it. So I was like, okay, all right, how do I do this myself? And I was like, well, I already learned how to. I kind of know how to do it because I studied it in school.
What did you start on as far as like gear and stuff? Like if someone was interested in, you know, getting some small things for themselves, like if you could go back and pick some stuff, maybe now that they offer, there'll be some good gear that folks could start out on. What would be good advice?
Is for like for producing or
for trying to record your own, like if somebody out there wants to make their own beats, if they're interested in, you know, recording their stuff and getting a demo, like creating a demo or trying to get their music out there to other ears, where should they start for that?
I mean, honestly, pretty much any of the DAWs now, the digital audio workstations, any of the softwares, you can do all of it in like I like to use Cubase.
Okay.
That's my kind of ultimate. That's kind of the first one I really got into, and I still use it to this day.
Oh wow.
Cubase. I also use Ableton a lot. Okay. And Ableton I feel is probably one of the most popular now.
Yeah.
But you can do all that in any of those. Logic, Fruity Loops, which is now FL Studio.
Yeah.
Pro Tools. That's probably the one I use the least.
It's kind of complicated.
Yeah, just I don't know. It's never really kind of worked well with me. Just the way it.
Yeah.
The way the workflow is on it. Excuse me.
Live sampling and stuff makes it difficult.
Intuitive for me, whereas Cubase was just like, how do I do this? Oh, right click. Oh, right there, easy.
Sweet. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, but honestly, any of those, if you got yourself a decent computer or laptop, and you know one of those DAWs, you can pretty much do. You can do good stuff.
Especially starting out, you can really do a lot with a little. Yeah.
Because a lot of those come with all, you know, effects and plugins, and even some of them even have instruments. Most of them have instruments.
Yeah.
So you don't need a whole lot. I mean, when I started, I had my sister's just cheap keyboard, like Yamaha, like, you know, the one you can get at garage sale for $10.
Okay. The general one.
I had like a copy of Fruity Loops, like probably a cracked copy of Fruity Loops on a janky old computer.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, probably cracked. Not gonna confirm that. But that's all I had. I had nothing. But having nothing makes you creative, you know, as they say. Like, as I heard Jazzy Jeff say one time, like he's got every piece of gear you could possibly imagine now, every drum machine, anything you want at his studio, you name it, plug it in and turn it on. But he's like, the most creative I ever was when I was in the hotel room with one turntable and a sampler, and that was the most creative I ever was, because that's all we had. So we had to make something with that.
Yeah. Working within your limitations to find the best.
Within limitations. Yeah. Yep.
That's cool, man. And then, so after that, then you were into producing and you were writing your own beats now.
Yeah. And then at that time I was just like, oh yeah, I just want to make beats and to like get to rappers and stuff like that.
Okay.
You know, I'm like, oh, I was super into Kanye at that time, you know, like his first album in early 2000s, and like I was always into, you know, West Coast hip hop and like Bay Area hip hop and like G-Funk and all that. So I was like, at that time I was like, I just want to like start making these beats and getting them into the hands of like artists, you know. And so I just started making all these beats and like putting them on CDs and just, you know, like trying to get them out there, and didn't really have much luck as far as getting with like big names or whatever at that time. But what it did get me is just more and more connections with other people that were into it. And I started working at this job at this tech company in San Francisco. And the guy that hired me basically was a young guy, like a year older than I was. And I was Paul Salva, and AKA Salva. And this was in 2007, I believe.
Okay.
And there was a big kind of thing happening in the like beats world, the beats like scene, the beats scene as it's known was like really starting to take off, like in LA.
Okay.
And like, it was, you know, just after Jay Dilla had passed, and it sparked this whole movement of all these beat makers. And like, you know, it was like Low End Theory and Flying Lotus and like a lot of like London guys, and everybody was just like on this beat experimental phase where it, like anything went, like the weirder the better. And like we were just trying to make our drums like as swung out as possible and just like gritty and, you know, just getting weird. And that's what was, it was like a really fun time.
Popular. Yeah. That's cool, man. Yeah.
So anyway, he hired me at the company, and he's like, yeah, I hired you because at the very bottom of your resume, it said that you were into music production and just like music. And he's like, I wanted to work with somebody that, you know, I shared similar interests with, because he was also a DJ, like amazing DJ, turntablist, producer, beat maker, and just like beat head, hip hop head. So we would literally be at the office, like sitting next to each other and be like, yo, who do you think's better, Timberland or the Neptunes? And we would like stop what we're doing and like have a whole discussion. Like, who's your favorite producer? Like, and we would just talk about music though, you know?
Yeah. Nice.
And so he, you know, we started playing each other our music, and his stuff was dope. And he really liked my stuff also. And he, at that one day, he's like, yo, man, I'm going to start a label to start releasing our stuff just digitally, just so we can get it out there. And I'm going to call it Fright Night. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. He's like, you want to do a release? So I'm like, sure, yeah. Because at that time, it was MySpace.
Oh, yeah.
That was basically the only platform you had.
Okay.
For people to hear your music.
Yeah.
It was MySpace, and like SoundCloud had just come out. And so the only way to like share your music was to have it on your MySpace in your player and like send it to people, or like try to get people to listen on your MySpace.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's like, I'm going to start this label called Fright Night, and, you know, do an album, do a EP or whatever. So I'm like, cool. I got all this like stuff I've been working on. And at that time I started, after making so many beats for like, you know, at that point it had been like 6-7 years. I was starting to kind of find my like sound a bit, you know?
Sure.
And so at that time I was like, okay, I got like these 7 tracks that I feel all kind of fit together. And so I put together that was my first release, solo release as B Bravo. And so we put it out, and I sent it to some radio DJs that I had been following big time, like in London, like Giles Peterson and Benji B on BBC One Extra.
Okay.
And at that time, he was like, Benji B was kind of like the voice of like the underground beats, like soulful music scene. He was pretty much the top guy. Like, everybody listened to his show on Thursday nights, and all the like music heads, that was the show to listen to hear like the freshest, newest, just like coolest stuff.
Nice.
And I used to listen religiously and just thinking like, oh man, one day, like if I could get a song on there, that would be like amazing, you know?
Yeah.
So when I released that EP on Friday night, I sent it to like Jay Scarlett, and he supported it right away. And I sent it to tons of people.
Sure.
But Jay Scarlett was one of the big DJs at that time who was playing it. And Benji B started playing it.
Wow.
He started playing my track Midnight. And like literally instantly, as soon as he played it once on the show, overnight, I just started getting hit up from other people, like literally worldwide, because his show's based in London, and everybody listened worldwide, like all over. And so when he played that first track, the first track Midnight, it was like, I felt it was like real surreal, you know?
Yeah.
It was just like, I can't believe this, you know?
Yeah.
And he ended up playing it like 3 weeks in a row on his show, possibly even more than that. And
that's amazing
and it was just like, I was so just honored, and like, I couldn't believe it. And it just like kind of things started to roll a bit after that. And then he played another track from the EP off of it. And then I started just getting contacted by all these different DJs that had that were doing like mix shows and mixtapes and like putting together their own mixes and had their own radio shows and stuff like that. And it kind of just helped spread out among all these different people.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what got me like into the game a bit. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm a solo artist now.
This is what I'm doing now. Yeah.
So yeah. And then I just kind of like built from there, you know.
That's very cool, man.
Another EP the next year called Computer Love. And that actually did better than the first one.
Yeah.
And got, just kind of got more love from people. And then
that was an amazing release, by the way. Computer Love was fantastic. I mean, that's the first one that I had heard. I hadn't heard Midnight. I'm not quite as hip, man. I don't listen to a lot of the cool stuff. You know, I listen to a lot of old music, man. You know, I don't listen to a lot of what I don't listen to a lot of what the young kids like, man. You know, I mean, I like classic rock and a lot of jazz and fusion, funk. I like the stuff you were talking about earlier on. You know, like the old school stuff.
That's still like my first.
Sure.
You know.
That's well, I mean, it's where it all comes from, right? That's the foundation, you know. But I remember when Computer Love came out, I heard it, man, and I was like, what is this, man? This is amazing, dude. Like, I had not heard anything really like that. I mean, I had heard electronic music and, you know, funk and all kinds of stuff, but you really blend those sounds together in this awesome, very unique and creative way, man. It's really cool.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. Wow. You've heard it a million times already, man. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's not saying anything you don't know, but for folks, again, man, that may not know who you are or are watching this and don't know, definitely Computer Love. That was the first one that I really liked and started following from your newer stuff, and definitely worth picking up a copy of that. That's really cool. And it's also on, man, you release on everything. You release on vinyl, right? As well as, of course, digitally.
Yeah. I mean, I started really getting into records and, vinyl records.
Yeah. Physical records. Yeah.
Real records.
Yeah.
Kind of in college too. Like my buddy had a funk radio show on the San Francisco State radio station on the college station. And he asked me, he's like, yo, you want to like be a co-host with me on the show? And so, yeah, for sure. And we really started getting into like funk music. And so I had to play on the show. And that's what really got me into like digging for vinyl. And then obviously from there, it's like finding drum breaks to sample, to make beats with, and finding drums, and also just finding samples in general to use it, you know, in creating
fresh new stuff.
So I've been like addicted basically to vinyl since then. Nothing's changed.
Yeah. What do you look for in vinyl?
Obviously, it depends what kind of mood you're in. It depends what, I mean, obviously there's just, right now I'm kind of at a place where I just like buying records that I can just put on at the house.
Okay.
And just enjoy, like jazz or rock or, you know, funk, stuff like that. Just if I can just listen to and enjoy.
Sure.
But there are times when you're trying to find something that has like a really good drum break on it. When I say drum break, I mean a place in the song where it's only the drums playing, where there's no instruments, so that us as samplers, we can
grab that,
record just the drums, cut them up and rearrange them and make our own beats out of them.
Yeah.
So finding a record with a break on it is kind of the ultimate.
Nice.
Especially when you find a record that you didn't know had a drum break on it.
Okay.
It's like the extra bonus.
Yeah.
But you know, also just buying records that you think are really cool, like even like a lot of newer stuff. It's just, there's something about the playing music from the record. It just sounds better. It's just warmer.
Yeah.
It's just for me, it's the ultimate way to listen to music.
You're analog
artwork, and it's something you can hold and you actually own it.
Yeah.
You're not just paying some streaming service your money so that you can on your phone.
Right. You can rent some music that you don't really own.
Rent music and not actually.
It used to be visceral, man. It was an experience, you know, like you would go line up out in front of there's that record shop in Monterey on Alvarado, man. It used to be there, but it's not there anymore. But it was that CD shop on the corner by where the bus stop is now. And I used to line up there, man, for release when 1979, like when the Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy Infinite Sadness, man, I was lined up there for like hours trying to get that record. I mean, it was like, you would wait, man, like you know, like that whole experience was part of it, you know, and then you get the record, the liner notes with the pictures in there, man, all the stuff, you know, it's something magical about that.
100%, man. And the beautiful thing is you can still have that. There's still plenty of record stores out there. Not like there was, there's not like the big ones like Tower and the Warehouse and all those that were around when we were around, because they focused on CDs.
True.
And CDs are obviously pretty much
gone, more or less.
More or less gone. I mean, people still make CDs, and I still have a CD player in my car, so I still like CDs.
Yeah.
But as far as the mainstream consumer, like, people aren't really buying CDs, but people are buying vinyl.
Yeah. Still analog.
It's still analog. There's nothing like it. So if you're a vinyl head, you can still have that experience of going to the record shop and waiting for that new release to come out.
Yeah.
And getting it and looking at it. You still have the same experience. So maybe that's part of it for me, is I'm just nostalgic like that. And I like that.
You're a true analog guy in the digital age, man. You know, your heart's analog, but your music's digital, man, or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. That's cool. Right on. Thanks for hipping me out, man. I really appreciate that trip through all your stuff. And now, man, you tour around, or previously, of course, nobody's really touring much now, man. But I saw you were touring a lot of Asia, and then also in Europe. You're doing a lot of DJ traveling and touring. Is that mostly for parties? What kind of events are you doing with that stuff? Shows, festivals?
I was part of the Red Bull Music Academy in London in 2010, and after that, I kind of did a lot of stuff with Red Bull. And whenever they would, there was tons of festivals, like, kind of worldwide, that they would host stages at. And so they would, like, holler at a lot of us kind of Red Bull alumni to come play on those stages.
Man. Yeah.
So, I did stuff all over Europe, and went to Colombia, and all over the US, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, kind of with Red Bull, and then also did just a lot of stuff on my own. But Asia kind of more recently, in the last 5 years or so.
Okay.
I've been doing kind of a lot more Asia stuff. Did a couple like European tours, in like kind of starting from 2010 till kind of even till now. I haven't gotten in a few years, but I've been doing more Asia, but yeah, kind of all over, really, man. It's been a blessing. I never thought, I never saw myself having, that opportunity as like just going as myself and
following your passion, just doing what you loved, man, being excited about it. And
that's like, people always say, oh, if you're doing it to try to make money, or trying to do it to have these ulterior reasons, it's never going to work, and that you should just do it because you love it, and just try to stay true to what you are. It's true, man. That's how it worked for me.
Yeah. That's certainly true, man. There's definitely something to be said for being pure to the music, man, and really paying attention to that, and your creative art, man, making sure you pay attention to that. And then at the same time, you gotta, pay rent and stuff too, just like everybody else,
Yeah. And the ultimate is to be able to do what your art untainted, and get paid enough to make a living from, which I was able to for a while.
Yeah.
But more recently, I've been able to like supplement by doing engineering work and mixing work and stuff like that also for people. So, and I also do some other work also, kind of outside of the music world, just to, also pay bills and stuff too. Like,
absolutely.
Living in LA is crazy, and I have a family now that I support too.
Yeah.
So,
man.
I don't have the same luxuries as I did when I was 20s and early
That's
30s, and able to just
sit around,
just myself,
Yeah,
so.
Right. Playing music all day, and just like, you make $100 at a gig. You're like, all right, man, I could eat today, and like, it's cool. Buy that new pedal I wanted, or that new synth, or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
But even at that time, I was still working full time, like 9 to 5.
Okay.
In, like, the tech world. So I was making like salary. I was making like decent money.
Yeah.
But what that allowed me to do is, because through college and even after college, I had no money. Like I was a broke college guy, like just scraping by,
Sure.
And even at that time, like the thought of being able to like focus on making music
Mm.
wasn't like, I didn't have that luxury because it was like after college, it was like, okay, how am I going to pay my bills now?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, oh yeah, let me just like, oh, I have all this time and like creative energy to like make
Right.
music. It was like, all right, I gotta work, you know?
Yeah.
And but luckily through being able to find like a good job outside of, you know, be it at that time it was outside of the music game, I was able to not have that stress of
Yeah.
I gotta make money
Right.
off of making music.
Yeah.
So it was like, all right, I got my rent covered, I got all my bills covered, I got my food. And I would literally work 9 to 5 and come home and I would start on music and making beats at like 8 o'clock at night and just
Right.
work till super late at night,
Yeah.
sleep a little bit, get up and go back to work.
Do it
And at
again.
that time I could do it because I was younger.
Young.
And
Right.
I had the drive, like I had
Sure. The energy,
I had to
the
basically, you
enthusiasm.
know.
Yeah.
But what it allowed me to do is I didn't have that stress weighing on me. And so I was
Yeah.
like, I could still be relaxed and be like, oh, whatever I come up with
That's
is
cool.
fine. It's
Yeah.
cool because it doesn't, I'm not relying on this for people to like or anything. I don't
Yeah.
need to make my rent off of this music.
Right.
So
That's a tough thing, I think,
it's a
to
blessing in disguise, you know?
yeah. It's a tough thing to understand, I think, is that when you are doing your passion as your job and you're making money at it, it changes it. And people hear it and they talk about it and they kind of understand it, but it's different when you're actually there. And it's like, man, now I have to pay my rent and this guy's offering me a bunch of money, but I got to sort of like sell out or like play music or whatever. It's like, if that's your main source of income, you know, selling out looks pretty good when that's the way you're going to pay your rent, you know, like, and no hate. I mean, I'm not throwing shade on people that sell out or whatever. I mean, that's the reality, you know,
not
like,
at all, because I've started kind of being in LA and I work with this publishing company and, you know, a lot of this stuff I do get like projects that are, okay, we have to make something for this commercial or for this
deadline, whatever,
certain artist and whatever, and it has these constraints and we want something that sounds like this.
Sure.
And so you do find yourself in that situation and you know, do what you got to do for that project.
Absolutely.
And so it's you sort of have to draw a line between this commercial project and this is like my project.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a great distinction, man. Making sure to keep those separate. Continuing to be creative.
Because even for me, like once I'm like, oh, let me try, I'm gonna carry that mindset over to my project, it kind of messes it up.
Right.
Like, oh, I want to make something that's like this or like this. It kind of already gets your creative like
you're thinking wrong.
It gets your thing exactly.
Yeah, the wrong mindset. Yeah, man.
It's easier said than done, man. So
sure.
For any like artist, that's always kind of
man.
Something you gotta try to stick by.
Cool. So it's been like an hour, man. I don't want to take too much of your time. Can you run me through like the gear you got sitting around there? Just a couple of things you got, just a few things there.
Let's see. This guy is a Moog Voyager.
Yeah.
I got this about 5 6 years ago. The ultimate beast.
Yeah. What do you use that for mostly? Like, what is it? What part of your sound is that kind of fit?
Bass, definitely. Okay. Synth bass.
Does it record? Like, what kind of capabilities does it have?
No, it's just it only plays. It's monophonic, so it.
Oh, one note at a time.
Like one note.
Okay.
Basically.
Okay.
Basses and leads and stuff like that. It's a lot of like crazy sound effects.
Okay.
This is like a touch pad here, like an XYZ.
Oh, sweet. Like the Chaos Pad or something like touch sensitive.
You can like assign to whatever parameter filters or whatever you want on here. And obviously tweak all the knobs and stuff. So I love having like all the knobs and stuff you can tweak. This here is a Yamaha DX7.
Oh, the classic, man.
Big number of 80s funk and R&B records. You're gonna hear this.
So I was just talking with another synth buddy of mine, and we were talking about FM, so frequency modulation synthesis versus deductive synthesis and some of the other types, right? And he was mentioning how difficult it is to program your own sounds on an FM synthesizer. Do you use mostly the presets, or do you do any programming on that one?
I try to find a preset that's as close as to what I'm trying to get to as I can, and then just tweak as little as I need to. Cause yeah, it is really tough. Like as you can see on this one, there's tons of knobs and stuff. Everything you want right there. This, there's just like these buttons across and like a little like LED that doesn't really give you much. Yeah, it's very tough.
Yeah, the frequency modulation,
but it's
difficult versus deductive synthesis, so the Moog is deductive synthesis. So it's like it starts out with a sine wave, and then you use filters to adjust that sound. Frequency modulation works on a completely different principle. It's really tough, man. Yeah. Cool. Sure. And then you have a little effects box hooked up to that as well. Is that a little delay? Is that hooked up or?
Yeah, that's the Echo. It's called an Echo Park.
Okay.
Line 6. It's just an echo pedal, delay pedal.
Gotcha.
I have that hooked up to this guy back here.
Okay.
That's an ARP Odyssey.
Oh yeah. Sorry, those are very cool, man.
Yeah, that's the ARP there in the middle.
Yeah.
That's from like 76.
Whoa. Does it have a foot pedal too? You got the bass foot pedal? There was something underneath it.
Nah, that's just like an old DJ mixer.
Oh, okay.
All kinds of stuff. I don't have enough room for all
Sure. Yeah, you start to collect gear over time. I know that, man. Yeah.
But that's like the ARP Odyssey. That's kind of like my voice. Like all the leads on like Computer Love and all that stuff. That's all ARP Odyssey.
Oh,
all like the main melodic leads and stuff. That's all from the ARP.
Okay.
And it just has that like
classic
warm,
sound. Beautiful,
rich, like sawtooth that just it's just butter, you know. And you can really like make it sing, you know. So that's like.
Did you use the talk box with that one as well?
With the Odyssey?
Yeah.
No, I did when I first got my own talk box, and I was trying to figure out which synth was the best. I was using it with the Odyssey. I didn't end up using it.
Okay.
Just I don't know. It just for me it wasn't
right.
It didn't have the right feel for some reason. What's interesting though is I do like when I do my live sets, I run mostly everything through Ableton.
Okay.
And I just have like a MIDI keyboard, and so I do use the digital version of ARP Odyssey, the DST, as my talkbox sound in Ableton.
Interesting.
That works for me fine, but for the real thing, I still prefer. So this what I was using in like the little demo earlier. This is the Yamaha EX100. It's like it looks big on the camera, but it's actually like a small size.
It's 49 key, 61.
I think it's 35.
Oh wow, okay, pretty small. And is it MIDI or has onboard sounds?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is like what Roger used. It's like real light. And you can actually put like a strap to it.
Oh, like guitar almost.
Yeah, you can. It's got like the little guitar strap.
Oh, look at that. Nice, man.
So I rock like that sometimes. Not a whole lot, but
that's cool though.
So I use that. I prefer this just because it's like it has that sound that just works perfectly, and it's very portable. Like if I need to go somewhere, I could just throw it in a little guitar, like small synth bag, and I just take it. Before that, I was using the micro Korg.
Okay.
Down here, leaning up back there.
That little small guy, yeah.
I still use it once in a while. That thing is still very powerful. I mean, a lot of the sounds you'll recognize from like on all kinds of stuff, but it's still. I like put it away for a long time, and I just pulled it out recently. I'm like, because the vocoder on it is a lot of fun to use, and like a lot of other
little toys, little things. Yeah.
This is my MPC back here behind me.
Oh yeah, the Akai. Is that where you sort of record a lot of stuff on there? Sample a lot of stuff on there?
Yeah, that's mostly I use for drums. Okay. Like drum samples and drum programming. Awesome. Because you can really like play all the pads on it, and the touch on it is really great. So you can just hit record and it just
feels good. Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels good. And I use it also as a MIDI controller, like in Cubase or Ableton. So even if I don't want to take the time to like record the drums into there, I can just still use it MIDI and control the digital samples in like Ableton.
Okay.
And like and stuff like that. Yeah. Just because it has the pad feel is so
pad feels nice. Yeah.
What else? On this side is a Juno 60.
Oh yeah. It looked like the Juno. I thought I recognized that.
That's like this is also one of my favorite
That's the new
keyboards.
re-release, or that's the original Juno?
This is original. This is original.
Wow, nice, man.
I'm not sure what year it's from, like 70s or 80s.
Okay.
And then, but that's a JP 8000, Roland JP 8000.
Okay.
That's like a 90s, mid 90s one.
Yeah.
That's got a lot of the like real bright, like funky patches and just all kinds of cool stuff on there.
Very cool.
A lot of cool basses too.
Yeah, and you got a guitar and a bass and all kind of, man. You got every toy you need to have some fun, man.
I mean, you know, you find yourself needing kind of everything.
Yeah.
You know, on like what kind of track. I'm still like, I don't know how you play guitar, man. Guitar's got to be it's not easy. Man.
It's a pain. It's a pain.
I need to get some lessons from you.
Yeah. Well, hey, I know a guy. I know a place you can get some lessons in. Awesome, dude.
I'm here like one noting, trying to figure it out. It's hard, man.
Yeah. Well, it has its moments.
Yeah.
Nice, man.
But that's pretty much.
That's a very cool setup.
That's the main stuff, you know.
Yeah,
I wish there's some other ones I kind of wish I could get also. Like I would love to have a real Rhodes, Fender Rhodes.
Oh yeah, man. I don't think you got enough space in that room for a Fender Rhodes. You can shoehorn. You figure it out. Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, yeah. Let's. Can we hear a groove? What's the tune that you're gonna play? That we're jamming out on. You gonna jam out on a little tune?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna show you like how the talk box.
Yeah.
Which I did a bit of earlier, but kind of more in context. If you.
Yeah, man. Let's hear the track and then get a little bit.
All right.
See if it still works.
Let's see if it still works. Finagle a little bit. Let's see. This one's called "Please Oh Please" off my last release.
This off the new one? Nice. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep. Yep. Ooh, yeah. Baby. Yep. Don't you hear me? Oh. Yeah. At the School of Rock, baby. Yeah. Don't you hear me when I say, yeah. Don't you hear me when I say, please, oh please, oh please, oh please, oh please, please. Yeah.
Oh man.
Don't you hear me when I say, yep. If I had to ask 1,000 times, I would.
Yeah. Oh man.
It mean that much to me.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh man.
Yep. Chris in the building today. Yep.
Man, that is so cool, man. That's amazing, man. That is phenomenal, dude. Oh man, that sounds cool.
Thank you.
So that's Cosmic Mind is the new EP. Is that what it's called? Right?
Yeah.
Cosmic Mind. Yeah, and that's off the new one, right?
Yeah, that's off the Cosmic Mind EP.
So good, man. That's awesome. Yes, that one is on. Where can I find that?
Digital everywhere.
Okay.
iTunes, Spotify, all those places.
Cosmic Mind by B Bravo.
Yeah, B Bravo, Cosmic Mind.
Oh yeah,
vinyl.
I forgot to ask you, man. Where does that name come from? B Bravo. Where did you get that, man?
It was back in the day. The first time I used it was with my boy Roja. It was just from like jokes that we had. Like we would call each other like brother or like bud and stuff like that. So it was like Brother Bravo. And then for whatever reason, I was like, let me just shorten it and made it the brother B. And
B Bravo.
And I don't know. There's no crazy meaning behind it. It was just like, it was what it was.
It's cool. It sounds good. I mean, it's got that alliteration, you know?
When the time came to put out my first album, what name do you want to use? I was like, I don't know. Try to pick out a name to use. Like, it's impossible.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't want to use my real name because it's like whatever.
Yeah.
I wanted to use something different.
A stage name, man. Yeah.
And it was like just stage name. And then once people started liking the track, I was like, well, okay, I guess I just got to use it. So
too late to back out now. I already sold all these copies of records as B Bravo. So too late.
So that's what it was.
Ah, nice, man. I meant to ask. Yeah. And so Cosmic Mind and the Starship Connection and all that stuff, you can find all of those. Do you have one source that you go to, or just search for you on Spotify?
I mean, if you want to get it like the most direct way for me, just go to my Bandcamp page.
Okay. B Bravo on Bandcamp.
Yeah. Bandcamp.com/B Bravo.
Perfect. Yeah. That's a great spot, man. A lot of good artists are on Bandcamp now.
Just because like, that's like really straight for me.
Perfect.
Some of the stuff I do with the label Bastard Jazz, some of it's tied in with them also, but for the most part, like that's the most direct way.
Cool.
That's where I try to get my music from, people that I like. Like, if I have it on Bandcamp, I know it's
going to the artist. You get to support them directly,
and also like the quality is going to be good because a lot of places, if you get like buy MP3s,
they compress they compress them like crazy.
You never know what quality you're going to get. And a lot of times it's not very good quality. So if you would want it to sound clear and good and make your car
just pop
the right way.
Yeah, man.
And you got to get the high quality stuff.
Absolutely, man. That's always happens.
That's what I try to do if there's something on Bandcamp.
Yeah. Awesome. Right on, man. We'll put a link too, so you can check out your Bandcamp and all that stuff. We'll put all that up there, man. Yeah. Cool. Anything else you want to say, man? Any other pro tips you want to leave us with?
Oh man, I don't know. Just stay true, man.
Stay real. Stay up, player.
Stay true to yourself. You know, that's honestly the biggest thing I could say is like, it's fine to like start out imitating people, and that's how I started. I was like, oh, let me just copy Dr. Dre as closely as I can. And like, what was my favorite beats at that time? And I just would literally sit down and try to emulate them, not to like sell or to like,
that's how we learn,
anything, but just to like practice.
Absolutely.
Just be like, oh, how close can I get to theirs?
Yeah.
You know?
Cause that's pro level. I mean, you're emulating pro level stuff.
Yeah, you know, it's like if you're a guitar player, you're gonna try to learn a Jimi Hendrix solo at some point, or somebody.
You know, probably
like whoever
will.
Your favorite guitar player is.
Absolutely.
Like, all right, let me try to get as close to them as I can. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's an exercise in practice, I guess. Really, like just honing your craft. But
yeah, man.
But once you start to kind of develop and figure out what you want to say and what you want to kind of sound like, then it's just about like just trying to stay as clear as you can and tainted.
Sure. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, man. That's great advice.
It's done, but I would say that's just try to do music to have fun, man. That's what Timberland says. It's it should be fun.
Yeah.
Not fun,
you're not doing it right.
You're either not doing it right, or maybe it's not the thing that you should be doing. Maybe you should, and it doesn't always have to be fun. Like, not every time I sit down to play or practice or make beats, it's not always fun.
Sure.
But it usually is.
Yeah.
But if those few times where it's not, I'm like, all right, me go do something else for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man.
Because once you start trying to force it, you just get frustrated.
It doesn't happen. Yeah,
it's not a good thing. But yeah,
nice,
try to have fun. Try to not take things too serious too. You know, that's another, like,
can't be creative if you're taking it too seriously.
Yeah, like try to keep it light. Like the heavy stuff comes and like,
oh yeah.
You know, I try to put a message in all the music that I do also. Like, you know, I want my music to make people feel good, and I want to spread a positive message. I want people to feel happy when they hear it, and I want people to dance. I want people to have a chance to like get outside of their own situation for you know, for that time. And because that's what I want when I listen to music. It's fine to have like a you know, a reflection on like social things that are happening too,
of
which
course
I think is also important,
of course.
But really I want to try to make the world a better place, man. Like at the end of the day, like spread the good message, you know.
Yeah, man. Pretty ambitious, but I think you're well on your way, man. I certainly feel uplifted when I get to hear some B Bravo tunes, man.
Cool, man. There you go.
You're doing it, man. It works for me anyway.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you need as an artist, to because everybody has their days of like, I don't feel inspired, or like, I feel like, you know, you start to doubt yourself sometimes, and then sometimes all it takes is like a message on Instagram from somebody or so, or whatever platform that's like, hey, I just found your music and it's like, I love dancing to it, or like it's making me feel good, and you're like, all right, cool. There is a reason like that I'm doing this.
I'll keep doing this. Yeah.
That means a lot to people.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's a good point too. If you like some artists, especially smaller artists, or like people that are just starting out, or, you know, give encouragement and give love to those people. And when they're in the community, you know, everybody starts somewhere. And if you're that person and you're looking for that outlet, you know, then just keep sharing your music and believe that there are people out there that are going to appreciate it and give you that love back. You just got to find the right people, you know, be connected to the right place, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Right on. B.Bravo, Instagram, Facebook. Check out the Bandcamp. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for spending time with us today, man.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for the shout. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Of course, man. We'll see you again. Hopefully we'll get you come in and show us in person once we can do that again, you know?
Absolutely.
Man.
Love to.
Right on, brother. All right. Have a good day, man.
All right, man. Shout out to you. Shout out to School of Rock.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man.
School of Rock. Santa Ana.